Hi, everybody, and welcome to our very first episode of the Mental Health Collab channel. I'm Robin Breckenridge, certified life and relationship coach, and this is my co-host.
And I'm Tina Simmons, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I also work as a therapist. And on our first episode today, we want to talk about our personal journeys, how we met, how we got to where we are, our personal growth and development journey.
So Tina and I are very excited to have this platform and be able to chat with more people than the individuals that we work with. We're excited. We're slightly nervous because we've never done this before. So we're really fingers crossed and really happy that editing is an option here in our episode. But Tina and I are just really passionate about bringing what we know as students of life, because both Tina and I, are in an evolution of working on ourselves as well. So we're excited to bring that part of our journey, but also our personal and professional experience, which is similar, that we both work in the mental health and personal development space, and yet a little different because Tina's in the therapeutic kind of end of things and I'm in the coaching end of things, and both sometimes kind of overlap in our approaches. So we're really excited to bring all of that to you guys as the listeners, and we hope that you get something from it and can apply it to your life and relationships. So I think where we're going to start is, maybe I'll hand it over to you, Tina, to tell us a little bit about your personal story, your journey and your own challenges as a human being, and how that led you on the path of helping others, and then ultimately to meeting me and the birth of our collaboration together.
Yeah, so it's actually kind of a funny story. So I've been in therapy for many, many years, and each time it had its purpose. I learned something from each therapist, each episode of care that I had. I had been doing my own work, self-help for years also. And it's when I moved to California from Michigan, I was pretty isolated, pretty lonely. I was in really kind of a dark place. I had left everything I knew and was familiar with and comfortable with behind, thinking that was going to kind of solve my problems. So when I moved from Michigan to California, I left because really a lot of shame and doubt. I had betrayed a friend, and I was really kind of in a shame spiral. I couldn't get out of it. I was in therapy, and so I had an opportunity to move for a job, and so I did. I lived in California. I lived in the San Francisco Bay Area, and it turned out the job that I went for was a bit of a disaster. So I was reaching out for help. I was really stressed out. I was isolated. I was lonely. I didn't have a support network out there. So I had actually reached out to, this is so random. I had been Googling. I actually wanted to go to an inpatient facility because that's what a dark place I was in. So I Googled where could I go for treatment or residential, and just Googling everything. And I picked up the phone and I called this place in Arizona, and I forget the name of it. And, then they told me the cost for however long it was going to be. And I just about, crapped my pants because, like, who can afford that? So I said, thanks for your help. And the lady was super nice. She's like, you could call this other place. They have, coaches that it sounded like it was going to be a good fit for me. And so I called this other place, and the intake person I really connected with. And she's like, we can help you. We'll assign you a coach, a life coach. I've never had a life coach before. So I was like, okay, I'll see what that's about. So again, here's the random part. So they randomly selected Robin as my coach. So we were kind of matched that way. I think partially because, personality, the intake person did a really good job in matching us, and location. She's also from Michigan. So I started doing my, I guess you call it therapy, call it coaching, whatever, But I did more work and I made more progress in the few months that I worked with Robin that I had the entire any other therapist I've ever worked with. And that's not to knock therapy. It's just, I don't know if it was, I was in that place where it was going to happen. I needed it to happen, or, dot, dot, dot. I don't know what the or was, but it was, like I said, it was a dark place. So I worked with Robin for a few months, and she became a big part of my life, after that. So I'll
Did
pause
we,
there.
did we cry on this episode?
I almost started to, yeah.
I think what's so neat about Tina's story too, and so relatable, is that Tina had done a lot of work on herself. Tina was in the industry herself. And, you know, we all get to that dark place. We all get to the place where it's like, gosh, the tools aren't necessarily helping. And so I think like that part that we're so passionate about collaboration, like not to put therapy down and coaching and, the one up position, just the fact that like that was the right fit. That was the right collaboration between two people. And Tina still stands to this day as my shortest client that I ever worked with that stuck through, because I think you were 3 months, and that doesn't mean everybody's journey is different and it doesn't matter the length of time, but I think that she just really like she was hungry for tools, which is I think what Tina and I have found with a lot of people, and that's true in my story too. And you're just not able to access them and get them, and when you do, it's almost like you've been in the desert and someone offered you water, like, oh gosh, this is just what I needed. And then just one really unique part of our story, a lot of the work I do has intuitive components to it. And one day I remember we were working together and I said, I think I'm going to work with you in the future. Do you remember that, Tina?
I do remember that.
And I remember saying it being like, wait a minute, like we're not working with clients, and where is that even coming from? And I was like, I don't even know what that means, but I just feel like one day. And then fast forward, we developed a relationship after our coaching relationship ended. And of course, like we had a lot of ethical considerations and boundaries within that transition, because that's not always something that's like beneficial, but in our case it worked. And then we both had such similar passions of helping people and being in the position of the client looking for the right type of help and help that's efficient.
And that's a good point too, because when you say I was hungry, like, the metaphor of being in the desert and somebody bringing you, that's what it felt like. Like I was so desperate for help, and here's somebody who's saying, here's some water, let me help you. And one of the things that really stands out that was very different from therapy, is her style. Like she used humor, and relatability. Like when I one of the things that I was always say in therapy is like, am I out of line? Because I wanted to know, like, I didn't know, I didn't have any boundaries, so I didn't know, like, am I tolerating, like, am I overreacting? And I just wanted somebody to go, no, you're not overreacting. But in therapy, it's like, well, why do you ask me that? And like, there's this very rigid boundary, like therapists can't, share or disclose a lot of personal information. And I get that, but that was something that was really helpful for me. Was Robin's style was like, she made it human. She made her human. She made herself human. I guess that's better wording. And that made me feel like I wasn't alone. But she told me a couple stories. And I was like, laugh out loud. But that's what I needed. Like, oh wow, look how far she's come, and that story was pretty messed up.
Oh, I do tell my clients sometimes, I'll say, if you knew me back in the day, you would not be paying me money for my advice. All lessons learned. Well, Tina, I love your story, and I think it can transition into me telling a little bit about mine. So, I guess much like your story, mine kind of started at a bottom as well, which not everybody has to hit a bottom, but a lot of times bottoms are helpful because you just cannot continue on the way that you were going. And there was nothing really like that I would consider to be major. I just think that I had a very disordered relationship to myself. I did not like myself. I have a core wound of feeling not enough. So no matter what I did, it was followed by that not enoughness. I had really challenging relationships across the board, romantic relationships, my family relationships, my friendships. Actually, work relationships were pretty good, but I think because of my lack of boundaries, I was kind of just keeping a lot of things in. But overall, I did not feel confident. I did not feel good about myself. And I had been in therapy since I was 24 years old. And I had not so great therapists. I had great therapists. And my one of my therapists, she said, Robin, you just need to love yourself. And I remember sitting on the couch, like just vividly going, okay, then, but how the do you do that? Like, if you just tell me how to do it, I'll do it. I just can't figure it out. And ended up, kind of hitting a bottom where I could not continue the way that I was. And so I went into a workshop facility that was extremely expensive and a huge risk. I mean, I don't sweat ever, like I'm not a sweater. And I remember getting into like the cab to go from the San Francisco airport to where this place was, and I had like sweat through my shirt. And I have a picture of it still because I was like, I need to recall this one day. I mean, I was terrified, but I knew, I mean, I was scared enough to know that like this risk was, seemed more fruitful than staying in the patterns the way that I was. So ended up going to that facility, making some connections within that facility. My background was in education. Previous to that, I worked with emotionally impaired kids and teens. This type of thing has always been very interesting to me. Behavior has been very interesting to me. And so I developed a relationship and became a coach for the company that I had gone into the workshop facility. And I became a coach and started doing that, took a risk to leave teaching. Had lots of people tell me that it was a terrible idea and that I should, stay safe and where I had degrees in, and that I'm so glad I didn't listen to that information because I don't believe I'm someone who is supposed to stay in that safe, small kind of thing. Not to say teaching small at all. It was an amazing career. I just think that there was some more that I was looking to impact. So fast forward, I meet Tina and we have this wonderful relationship. I even got to stand up in her wedding, which was one of the highlights of my career as a coach that was one of the first times I got to see someone's life all the way through, because people call me and once a week for an hour, I get a glimpse of their life, but I don't get to be a part of it. So that was really neat. And then Tina and I guess it would have been COVID, right? I mean, this is kind of the chapter that starts over for all of us where life completely changed. And I remember I was working in San Francisco, living in Michigan, going out to San Francisco once a month, seeing clients virtually over the telephone. We didn't even use Zoom at that time personally. And all of a sudden the world just stopped. And we couldn't do in-person events, and people didn't know if their jobs were going to continue, if they could afford to continue to pay me as a coach. And it got my wheels turning. And then also when we were all stuck in our house, including all of us as, mental health and self-help professionals, uh, my world got real small. And I was like, whoa, all my exits are gone. I have all of these feelings. And then on top of it, like we were all in a pretty decent grieving experience because the world was nothing of what it used to be. And so I think there was about a 2-week span where I was like, wow, I think my career is over. I'm not going to, I think my client base went down to 4 clients in those 2 weeks. And then all of a sudden it took off. And it hasn't looked back since. And I think that that's true for a lot of mental health professionals. And I think that's one of the reasons Tina and I are really passionate about having this platform to bring it to therapists and coaches and also individuals that are looking to improve themselves, because a lot of therapists and coaches have a lot on their plate right now. And Tina and I, in our work together, when I ended up leaving the company that I worked for and going out on my own, and Tina was kind of in a job transition at that time. And we were like, whoa, can I use this document with you that you use with clients? What are you doing in this particular area? And we started collaborating, and we realized, like, for some of us, not everybody in this industry, you're kind of on your own island. So all of us are looking for effective resources and tools to use with their clients. And of course, every client is different. So having, access to lots of different things inspired us to think of an idea of, like, what if we could help support the therapists and coaches that are out there by creating a marketplace where people could buy and sell each other's resources and use it with the end goal in mind being that we help more people in a more effective and efficient way. And that started our journey as business partners. So we kind of went from coach and client to friends to business partners. And I think there's many things that I love about Tina, and so many ways I'm blessed to have you in my life, Tina. And I think we both have really similar mission and goals in the work that we do with clients. And I think we're both really passionate about bringing it to as many people as we can and supporting the therapists and coaches out there that are helping people, and also anybody who was like in the position we were, that's standing in the desert waiting for the right type of water.
Mhm. And I think what's so beneficial about, the work that we do, in previous work that I've done, it was just, I would go into therapy and I'd talk about the same shit every time. So for 50 to 60 minutes, I was just repeating the same patterns over and over and over, and knowing they were unhealthy, but not knowing how to change it. So what I found the most effective, and for me personally, and with me as a therapist and working with my clients, is action, right? I don't think people benefit just by talking and talking. Getting into action, having a worksheet, tracking those thoughts, or doing whatever homework, we need. Like Robin said, I was hungry. And so in between my sessions with her, which up to 3 times a week with her, but in between I was busy and I was doing the work. And I think that's really what shifted for me, is I put it into practice. We all want to change the behaviors, we just typically don't know how. So it's the actual worksheets and the practice that helps us to shift.
That's right. So I think that our goal in this channel is to bring all of the resources, tools, awarenesses that we've learned in our own journey, and then collaborate that or integrate that with our professional experience of working with thousands and thousands of people to hopefully, provide support, help.
One thing that I think is important for people to know, too, or I hope that we have a place for people to come to and know, you are not alone. It might feel like it, but there is help. It's just a matter of connecting, collaborating. If your journey isn't, being able to afford therapy 3 times a week, or going to a residential treatment or whatever, okay, maybe we start small. Maybe it's a worksheet or a document or a book or something, or a TED Talk or YouTube channel, something. There's something for everyone. Like, just take one small step. What's the saying? The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one single step.
That's your
My
email
tag.
signature.
I should probably know it a little better than.
So we hope that in sharing our personal journeys, which we minced a lot of information in those, we'll have to pick up on the longer podcasts, and you can grab your popcorn and we'll give a NC-17 rating for some of them.
Yes, and hopefully you get something out of it and we don't bore you to death.
That's right. But we are really excited to bring the tools and information, in the micro and the macro, so that we can help everybody who is looking to improve their life, improve their relationships, shift from surviving to thriving, or just learn more about coaching and therapy or the modalities that we'll bring up in these episodes, but we're really excited to bring it to everybody. So if you are interested, you can click and subscribe to our channel, and we are going to bring you lots of great personal development, therapy, coaching, tools, tips, and then some relatable stories, because Tina and I are definitely human beings. We're students of life. I'm still growing and learning, but we've got lots of great topics that we talk to our clients about. So we'll present a very foundational approach. We're so grateful for everybody who tuned in to our very first episode. Our mission here at the Mental Health Collab is to inspire personal growth and healing. If this is up your alley, hit subscribe, tune into future episodes. We're already really excited about our next episode, which will be about managing burnout and self-care, which is very near and dear to both of our hearts, and I think very relatable to everybody. So we can't wait to see you on our next episode. Hope you're not asleep.
Thanks for watching.